7 years on, and I still remember the feeling of sickness and dread and fear as I watched all of the data, all of the files, all of the images, all of my work that I had done for the first 2.5-ish years of setting up my business disappearing from my computer. I had inadvertently deleted my main Google account, and along with it, everything I had created. I desperately tried to disconnect my PC to stop losing stuff on my computer. Didn't work. I phoned their help desk. They told me there was nothing they could do. It was gone. It was a terrible day in my business life. And I had to phone my business partner and tell him everything we had worked on for the past 2 and a bit years was now gone. This episode is about that lesson that I learned about having a secondary backup for your core business data and how to do it much more affordably than you could ever imagine and far more easily than I ever thought possible. This is something that everybody should do, whether you're on Google, Microsoft, Dropbox, I don't care. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, and make sure that whatever does happen, you are protected. Listen in and action this today.
So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success.
Okay, so in the intro, I explained that I deleted my entire Google Workspace account. It sounds something that could never happen. Like, why would you ever do that? The reason being, I was playing around, doing some training and setting up some Google accounts to show people how to do it. So I had some test accounts that I was created, and I inadvertently deleted the wrong one because I was logged in on my browser. It's the sort of scenario that probably will never happen again. But that moment of feeling so lost, so just my whole world I'd been living in the past 2.5 years, everything I'd focused on, my heart and my soul had gone into this business, and I'd literally just scrapped the lot. Google Workspace, I phoned them up, the service center, the help desk, and first line support said, no, there's nothing you can do. Thankfully, 4 hours later, I got a call out the blue from Google saying their senior help had looked into it and they managed to recover my files. And a few hours later, I was back online. But it taught me a massive lesson that one I actually learned when I was in computing in my degree back in the end of 90s, beginning of the 2000s, which is that if you've got one copy of something, that's actually 0. 2 copies is 1 and 3 copies is 2. It's a terminology used from back in the day when if a hard disk broke, you lost everything. But the same thing goes with our new cloud-driven world. If we lose access to the cloud, we lose access to everything. And if you just sit for a moment and think, what would happen if you lost access to all the files and folders you'd ever created? And just to be clear, I had all of those on my PC as well, and they were being synced. But because something happened to my main account, it then automatically synced with my now deleted account, and it removed them from my computer. It was a horrible moment, and one which took me seconds to do. Thankfully got recovered, but in realization that it would literally have taken me minutes to have set up a backup that happened in the background without anyone having to worry or think about it. And there I wouldn't have had this moment. Now, you may be thinking, this is never going to happen to you. You're never going to delete your account. Great. Then it could be something like ransomware, that you open up an attachment on your email, and that basically takes over your PC, locks you out, takes over your files, whatever. It means you can't access anything unless you pay someone a bunch of money or whatever. It doesn't matter what the reason is. There's stuff that could happen in the world that we can't control or we inadvertently do that could mean you could not access your main cloud account. Or if you're still saving everything to your PC, even more reason to back it up. Put it into the cloud and then do what I'm about to tell you, which is to have a cloud backup service. So hopefully I've convinced you that setting up cloud backup is something you should do today. And now I want to explain how easy it is to do. If you head over to sys.academy, so sys.academy/tools, you'll find a link to iDrive on our recommended tools and services page, which will give you a 7-day free trial, but also for $20 a year, you'll get 10 terabytes of storage per user. So 10 terabytes is a huge amount of data. I mean, I save ridiculous amounts of videos and I only have 7.5 terabytes. So I'd be surprised if you had more than that. But if you did have more than that, you can just add an additional license and you get another 10 terabytes. So I'm very unlikely you're going to have more than 20 terabytes. So for $20 a year, you can pretty much back up everything. But there's a trick to keeping your license costs low, to keeping your costs down. And that's what I want to explain now. So in my business, I may have at any one time 3, 4, 5 staff members, contractors working for me. I've had up to 14 in the past. And each of those will be creating documents and files and folders. So the way that I keep my backup license down to absolute minimum is ensuring that everybody saves all of the files and folders into what are called in Google shared drives. So if you've got a Google business basic account, standard account, I think it's called, you should have access to Google shared drives. If you've got Microsoft 365, you'll have SharePoint, and I think you can with Dropbox and things do something similar if you've got Dropbox Business. For the most affordable and easiest one, I recommend Google, but if you're already on Microsoft, stick with that. Now, what shared drives allow you to do is to have like it sounds, a shared drive, a place where everybody can access and store stuff that is owned by the company, rather than it being in the My Drive part of Google. So I'm talking, it doesn't matter if someone's got their own Google account, a free Gmail account, on a business account, the shared drive, you can add anyone to it and they can all put stuff in there. This keeps it all centralized. And so that me as the business owner, I am a member, actually I'm an admin on every single shared drive in my company. So when I sign up for my iDrive account, all I need to do to protect my files and folders is to add myself as a user. And because I am a member of every shared drive in my business, it automatically backs up every single file and folder in my entire business, regardless of who created it. Because I, as the business, own those shared drives, and I, as the business owner, am a member of each of those shared drives. So doing it this way, as in using shared drives or SharePoint if you're in Microsoft, and then you as the super user, adding yourself to iDrive, to the backup service, and then backing up all of those drives that you're a member of, you will actually back up everything in your business, regardless of how many people work for you. The exception to this is emails, calendars, and contacts. So if you also want to back up each of your users' emails, calendars, and contacts, you would have to pay for license for each of those. But in my business, I have a single additional license in my Google admin account, in my Google Workspace. Everyone else is on free Gmail accounts. And that additional user in my Google Workspace has delegate access to my emails. And so that's how my emails come in and out, how they manage my emails. But actually, my emails are still in my main email account, so me as the business owner. So even though I delegate access to someone else to manage my emails for me, the emails themselves are actually stored in my inbox, in my main super user inbox. And so I actually only have to back up one account to cover all my emails and all my drives in my entire business. So for $20 a year, I'm basically backing up the entirety of my business in Google. For me, that is an absolute no-brainer. So when you sign up for an iDrive account, you get a cool dashboard that basically says what's been backed up, when it was last backed up. It shows you the history over the past 10 days. Make sure that everything has been backed up properly. You can set up so you can get notifications each day that someone could check to say, yep, the backup's been complete. You obviously get notified if there's an issue. They'll let you know by email, so you can always go in and sort something out. I've never had any issues. We've been using it from middle of last year, about 7, 8, 9 months ago, something like that now. Never had any issues with any of it. And as I said, I've got about 7.5 terabytes of data and paying $20 a year for it. It's an absolute no-brainer. Here's the caveat with some other types of backup services that I've tried. First problem is they limit the amount of storage. So often you're limited to 50 gigabytes per person and you've got to pay for additional users in order to get more storage. They often also cost more than $20 a year, even for that tiny 50 gigabyte storage. And you're often forced to pay for each user in your whole Google account or your whole Microsoft account, even if you don't need to back them up. That means the cost can be significantly higher than you think when you first sign up for it. With iDrive, I've tried and tested it. I'm the only user registered on it. All my drives have been backed up, 700 terabytes, and it's costing me $20 a year. So to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. It gives me that peace of mind that no matter if it's a malicious, an accidental, or a completely something out of my control, that like Google's data center gets blown up or something crazy like that, like whatever the reason that I lose access to my data, I know it's backed up, it's completely automatic, I don't have to think about it, and therefore I literally do not have to think about it anymore, which is why it's actually taken me so long to record this episode, because it's something I don't think about. But it was only because one of my clients the other day asked me what do they recommend for Google Backup, and I was like, sugar, I've not actually recorded this updated episode of what I'm using now, so that's why I'm doing this today. So that's it. Hopefully in this episode I've convinced you that backing up your cloud data is important and something you should do. Hopefully I've explained how easy, simple and cost effective it is, so please go and do it now. As I said, you can head over to sys.academy/tools or just go to iDrive and do this yourself. I don't care if you use the affiliate link or not, just make sure you do this. If you found this useful, if this has been something you didn't know or you were thinking about but didn't know how to do it, and this has inspired you to take action, please share it with everybody you know. Any business owner, anyone who is saving data into the cloud needs to have a secondary backup in case any of the things that I've described in this episode happen. And by sharing this episode with them, they'll hear the horror story that I went through. They'll understand how easy it is to do, and hopefully they'll go and do it and then be forever grateful to you for sharing this episode with them. So please share this episode with every business owner you know to make sure that everybody is backed up. And except for that, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope you sleep better at night knowing that your data is now backed up. Thank you very much. See you next time.